Hello everyone. Today we're going to build a chatbot from scratch to collect information, and afterwards, if the user has any frequently asked questions, it will be able to answer those. And then afterwards, we want to take this information and store it somewhere. That way you can integrate this chatbot into your project and be able to use this information for more insights or perhaps contact these users when you collect their contact data. Right, so I went ahead and created a new agent. And when you do that, this is the default. This is what you're going to have, and you're going to build from it. That is why we're going to do it from scratch. And today I'm going to be using the help of ChatGPT to be able to quickly build those responses and the prompts that the user might be using. And the reason why I went for Dialogflow compared to other solutions which might serve the same purpose is because of these reasons right there. Okay, right. So we're going to go through all the steps that we need. Here, fulfillment is going to be used later on for the integration part. Another reason why I stick to Dialogflow is probably because it's free and it allows me to play around and use the customizations to fulfill the different use cases I want to do. Right, so now you can follow along or work with me as well. If you want to get to this point where you create an agent, you can watch the previous video where I built this one from scratch. However, I can give you a quick overview on how to create a new agent. Make sure to go to this website, and then when it loads, you need to sign in. And after you sign in, you'll probably be taken to a page where you need to create a new agent. And when you do that, you can find it here. When you create the new agent, you'll need to add the name and any other details here, but you can just go with the default if you want. And then you will be at the point where I'm at right now. Right, so let's continue and go ahead with our lead collection agent. As you can see, we have a default welcome intent here where whenever we greet the chatbot, it will be able to respond. So if we click, we'll find that the user inputs are here, and then this is what the chatbot will respond to if the user said anything like that or similar to these prompts. Now, before the first step, which is to create these intents, we want to look into what is our use case? What type of information do we want to collect from the user? And what do we want to store in the database later? That way, it'll help us customize these intents accordingly. Now, for step number one, we're going to create these intents. These will fit our specific use case. If you want to customize your default welcome intent, feel free to do that. And we're going to go ahead with the other new one that we're going to create, which is about collecting the user's contact details. So let's go ahead and create this new intent. We're going to name it lead collection intent. I'm going to copy it and then paste it when creating this new intent right here. So you go ahead and click there and paste the name. Done. Always make sure to save. And then we're going to go and add these training phrases. And what training phrases are is whenever the user says anything like this or similar to this, this is why this is really interesting, because even if it's similar, and I'm going to show a demonstration later, demonstration later, we're going to see how the chatbot is able to understand even if it's not added here. So whatever I add here, it means, hey, chatbot, if the user says this, then later on we're going to add the responses, tell them this, okay? Don't worry, you're going to understand as we go. So here are the things that I'm expecting my user to say, and then I will have the chatbot respond accordingly, okay? So here is what I'm referring to, the response that I'm going to give to the user once they enter anything that I trained the chatbot on or similar to it, as I mentioned. Okay. So if the user said they wanted to learn about our services, we want to tell them, okay, so provide me your details first, for example. Yeah. So once I save here, we can have a quick demo and see what it's like to have the chatbot respond to the user. Okay, I'm going to type something similar to what I trained it on. This is to showcase that the chatbot will still be able to understand even though I did not tell it this is what the user will say. Because then again, the user will be a bit unpredictable and we cannot train it on every single type of input from the user. And that's why we're going to try to have various versions of what the user might say to cover all the possibilities. Yes. So now that works. And we'll see what we can do next. Okay, next we're going to add actions and parameters. Here, these are the things that we're going to ask from the user. And when we add it as an action and parameter, it is because we want to make sure that the chatbot will not move on with the conversation unless it collects these parameters and it will store them in the variables. That way, later on, we can extract them and use the data. Okay, as you can see, this is why I'm using ChatGPT, just to quickly be able to fill in these for the sake of the demo. And I'll take you step by step to create each one here. So we'll create a new one and we're gonna do email. The at sys.email is basically a predefined parameter for it. And the reason why I'm using it here is because later on we will see that this provides verification, allowing the user to only enter valid emails. So when I add the prompt, this is what the chatbot will ask the user in order to obtain this piece of information. As you can see, I'm using the phone number as well. So for example, if the user just typed random letters, it will not take it as a phone and it will prompt the user again, asking it the question again so that it can get a valid answer. Right, so we're gonna add our last one here and I'll be using sys.any because the query could be any. It could be numbers, it could be letters, and so I'm gonna keep it open for now. And this is the question that the chatbot will ask in order to obtain this piece of information. After the user provides this last piece of information, the chatbot needs to respond once again, and this will be the last part of the intent. And so here, I'll be using two variables. I'll be using the name variable and I'll be using the email variable to add them in the response so that when we do get the response, the user will see that their information has been recorded. And for the demo's sake, we will see that it was stored successfully. And as you can see here, I'm adding email and phone as well. Okay, let's see how this will be. So here in the value column, we're going to add the variable name. Okay. And then add the phone here and no need for the query one. Okay. So to ensure that this data will be recorded and stored, we need to enable this here. For now, we're not going to go further than this, but maybe later on, we can look into how can we retract this data after it has been stored. So now make sure to save and let's go and do a quick demo. Okay, so let's ask this question again because we know that it will get us the response. Okay, so here you see it prompted it by asking, can I have your name? And once I do give it my name, it asks the second question, which is to get the email. And this is considered a valid email. And so it moved on to the third question, which is the number. And the last one is the query. And so after I do enter all this, it will keep them and store them for a discussion. Okay. Looking good. It did confirm that it got my response and they said they'll contact me since they got my contact information now. Okay, that's good. That's good. So as I mentioned later on, we will enable this and have the URL and, the code and integration part. Right now, we're not concerned with that. Let's see here in the history. where we can actually see the interaction. As you can see, it will be stored. So later on, we want to figure out how can we extract this and use this data so that maybe we want to contact these people who are trying to get information about our company. Yeah? Okay. The next step would be to create entities, and this allows for a lot of customization. So this will be suitable to do use case like frequently asked questions. And after that, we need to look into how to enable the fulfillment to store this data that we do get from the user. Right. So that being said, for more improvement, you can add more user expressions and more text responses to make your chatbot seem more natural, since it will be kind of repetitive to give your customer the same answers over and over. Another quick tip is whenever you add something and then you save, you will see intent saved, right? Yep, here. In some cases, that is not enough, which means agent training will start. And unless it's done, your chatbot won't be able to adapt to the new changes. So make sure to wait and see if any training is needed. Afterwards, you can proceed.